Hating your job can actually be a good thing. We oftentimes hate our jobs, we hate what we do, and it's totally understandable. But when you don't like something and you feel it deep within you, right? And you can see that maybe it's not something that is going to be sustainable long term, that is a sign that God or infinite intelligence is letting you know that whatever you're doing right now isn't going to be sustainable in the long run, right? So whenever you're in a state of dissatisfaction, right, and it's recurring, right? Like if you have a state of dissatisfaction that's kind of fleeting and it's kind of like, sporadic, like you just get these moods where you're not into it, here and there, that's different, right? But if you're going to a job every single day and you feel the same way about it like you did a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, right? Then there's a good chance that environment and that space isn't going to be something that's sustainable in the long term, right? So what God is letting you know is that, hey, there is a burden of performance on you, right, to figure things out. And this isn't gonna, I don't want to make you guys anxious or fearful or try to like make it seem like you have to like go and figure it out right now. But I want you guys to get in the mind, the state of mind that there is going to have to be something else that comes along as a result of you being dissatisfied with your current environment, right? Like if the job sucks, well, okay, all jobs suck relatively speaking, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't work or you can't find something that is important to you, that you feel like you can deliver value, right? Like if you're in video game design and you hate it, well, maybe you can do something else, right? Maybe you can design other things. Maybe you can sell other products that people will like, right? Maybe you can deliver other services that'll be more beneficial, that align more with who you are, right? So the point being is that, like, no matter what you do, for the most part, working with other people suck and working under a boss sucks, and, jobs don't pay, what being self-employed would pay, right, in the long run. But I think it's important that you find something that puts you in a flow state, right? Like me, when I make these videos, guys, like after a few minutes, like right now, I'm not really in a flow state, right? But 10 minutes into the video, 15 minutes into the video, once I start going, right, I start to enjoy it because I'm not even thinking. The words are just pouring through me, right? I'm not even thinking. I'm not even trying to analyze what I'm going to say next. The words just come to me as I go, right? So in a way, and now obviously speaking is just but one example, right? It could be writing, it could be art. It could be like designing something, designing a product and then selling it. It doesn't matter. The point is that there has to be something that puts you in that flow state that you enjoy, that you feel is centered to who you are. Like whatever your values are, does it align with that, right? Most of the jobs that we have, we just, what do we work for? We work to pay bills, right? That's the bottom line, right? And if you're smart or you're intelligent or you want more out of life, you realize that you want to get paid the most at your job so that you can use the extra resources that you have to put into things that make money or can buy you time so that you can do things that are more aligned with you and make money doing that, right? That's the easiest way I can put it, right? So if you're frustrated, if you're in a state of dissatisfaction constantly and it's recurring every day, every week, every month, then that doesn't mean you have to just pick up your bags and go, right? Now, obviously, it might get to a point where you just say, "Fuck it, I'm gone." But it's you have to start to look and see, okay, what do I like to do? What can I do on the side that can build towards something else? So when the time comes, right, if I want to leave, I can leave. Right? But a lot of people make the mistake and think that just because they hate their job, like everyone does at some point, right? For the most part. I mean, there are some people that love their jobs, don't get me wrong. But I would argue, 85%, they did a study, 85% of people hate their jobs, right? So if you're part of the majority that hate their jobs like everyone does, well, just because you hate your job doesn't mean you can just quit and just be okay. You have to figure things out. God rewards the people who are bold, right? Who want to go out and figure things out and take risks and do things that may not be comfortable, right? Or may not be as rewarding in the short term, right? making YouTube videos isn't rewarding in the short term, right? I can get paid more being a server in the evenings than I can making YouTube videos, right? But it's okay because this is something I like, and this is something that can go long term. It's not something that I'm just gonna do a year from now, 2 years from now. No, I'll do it 20 years from now. I'll do it 30 years from now. I'll do it 40 years from now. So whenever you're asking yourself the question, okay, if my job sucks, what should I do? Part of the answer needs to be what is sustainable long term, right? Because whatever we do, right, needs to be something that we can sustain over a long period of time. Because in the beginning, right, or in the first few years, right, when you're just learning, right, when you're just learning how to get things going, or you're just learning how to like develop a skill in whatever it is, could be speaking, could be drawing, could be designing, it doesn't matter. It takes time for you to develop that skill. So the reward, which is obviously money, doesn't come like it would if you were to just go get a job, right? So that has to be the dynamic when you ask yourself that question. And it's not easy, right? Like, you know, sucking at things isn't appealing to us, right? We like, again, human beings are, we generally want to stay in our comfort zone. We generally want to do things that we're good at, that we're familiar with, because it's comfortable, because what's the word? It reestablishes the equilibrium comfort in our mind that we're okay, right? That we'll be fine and we know what to do and we'll get the reward, right? But if you go out and do something that you've never done before, or you have to train to be good at it, right? Then that's going to be not appealing to your ego, right? Because your ego likes to be right. It likes to enjoy the rewards and the fruits of what it does. So when you do something and you don't immediately get that reward in the beginning, your ego's like, fuck, this sucks, right? And that's when most people quit, right? That's when most people give up on their dreams, or they give up on trying new things that could yield huge returns, or just give them a better quality of life, because it's work that they find a little bit more meaningful and a little bit more flexible, right, if you will. So, you know, if you're in that position, you have to ask yourself that question, right? What's suitable for the long term, and what can I do, right, that might not be rewarding in the short term, but if I learn over a short period of time, over a long period of time, the rewards could be exponential, right? That those are some things you should ask yourself. And then if you're in a job and you hate it, right, and you just don't care to really, you know, I mean, I think we all want to contribute, right? Like even in the book, Awaken the Giant Within, like one of the core Tony Robbins says, like one of the core human motivations is contribution. Like we want to contribute something to the tribe. Like we want to be valuable to the tribe, because again, in prehistoric times, right, if we weren't valuable to the tribe in some way, right, it didn't matter how small the value that we gave was. If it was valuable, it was needed, and we felt important, and we felt we were contributing, right? That's what gave us meaning. So in the modern day, right, like if you can't find something that you want to contribute and you want to go be a minimalist, right, that's an option. You can just go live out and be on your fucking own, right? If you want to just live and renounce this world, renounce materialism, renounce food, renounce sex, renounce family, renounce drugs, right, and just be, you know, a monk, if you will, right, that's an option for you too. Or maybe you want to do that in the short term, right, and you figure things out on your own. The point I'm trying to make is, no matter how bad your job is, never think that there's not a way out, or there's not something that is foreseeable in the next few years for you to be able to transition into something else, right? Never think that you're trapped, right? I think a lot of people think that they're trapped, and what you don't want to fall for is, because I mean, I'm giving you guys some things that you want to think and implement and strategize on, but you also want to realize that the worst thing you can do is when you don't like something, right, and it's something that you know is not going to be for you in the long run, the worst thing you can do, there's two things that will kill you: complaining and self-sabotage. When you complain, it's a negative spiral downward, right? It's a constant reminder that life sucks, there's nothing good about it, there's no progress. But that negative reinforcement that is a byproduct of complaining is what is going to keep you stuck. It's what's going to keep you in the same place you're at, and it's what could, in most cases does, because you see it all around society, people just giving up, Giving up and saying yes to drugs and hedonism. That's, in a nutshell, that's what everyone's doing. If you really look around, right, and you look at the dissatisfaction that is the majority of people in this world that work jobs that they hate, that do labor that they hate, the reason they are stuck, the reason that they continue to swim in the sea of suffering that they're in is because they complain, and as a byproduct of them complaining, spiral into bad habits that what? What do bad habits do? What do drugs do? They zap your energy, right? They take life force away from you. They cloud your thinking. They cloud your decision making. They cloud your ability to, perform, right? Especially, if you're trying to transition into something, right, and you're building it on the side, you need all the energy, you need all the cognitive energy, you need all the physical vitality that you can to use towards pursuing your goals, right? Because if you don't have the energy, if you don't have the mental resources and cognitive function to be able to focus and really deliver on what you want to bring to the world, right? If you can't lock in on that, if you can't dial that in, right, then you will be a byproduct of what the world is. And the world is just people on drugs working jobs that they hate. Now, of course, we need cashiers, we need we need people we need people in the trades, we need coders, we need people that do these things, right? And I'm not saying that everyone that does these things hates their jobs, right? But again, if you ask, I would argue between 50 and 85% of people, would you consider doing something else? I could guarantee you at least 75% of them, maybe a little less, would say, yeah, I would, right? If the money, if the money wasn't an issue, they probably would say yes, right? And you would probably argue that most people that do jobs that are difficult, that they might not like, they do it just because of the money. Let's be honest, right? So I'm not saying that we don't need tradesmen. I'm not saying that we don't need cashiers. I'm not saying that we don't need coders or lawyers or doctors or whatever field of profession that that pays a lot. Basically, I'm not saying we don't need that, but I'm saying that if you don't find yourself going down a path that is going to be financially rewarding and meaningful and sort of aligned with your values and aligned with what you believe is going to contribute the most to humanity, then again, you have to figure it out. And that's not to say that you can't do things along the way that, like for example, like let's say you work evenings doing side jobs to save up enough money to invest, right? So that you can buy your time back, right? The side job isn't your passion. It's not what you want to do, but it gives you hope, right? It gives you optimism. And I've talked about this in a lot of my videos, right? You guys got to start working things on the side, right? Because oftentimes when we're in low wage jobs or jobs that don't pay, nearly enough to save and invest, right? That's going to put us in a hole, or that's going to make us just basically work for free. When you're working paycheck to paycheck, you're basically working for free, right? So again, in the short term, right? Hey, if you got to work a second job for a year, 2 or 3, right? To be able to invest your money so that in the long run, you can buy your time back through whatever passive incomes you want to do. If you want to day trade, if you want to swing trade, if you want to get involved in real estate, doesn't matter what the point, the thing is, doesn't matter which way you go. It just matters that there is a way that you have that you can use to buy you time, right? Because if you don't have time, you can't create shit, right? If you don't have time to think, if you don't have time to strategize, if you don't have time to connect the dots and put things together, then that is what is going to keep you a slave. That's what's going to keep you stuck. That's what's going to keep you in that complaining spiral and in that drug spiral. And that's what that's what everyone's in right now. So I'm making this video so hopefully it can, inspire you to get off your ass, right? And again, that's not to say that you need to figure things out right now, but you got to figure out at least the next, sorry guys, that bird scared me. You at least need to figure things out, at least what's the next step, right? Maybe we don't know what step 10 is, but let's figure out what step 3 is, right? And then from step 3, we can figure out what step 4 is. But if you don't figure out what step 3 is, you can't figure out what 4 is. You can't figure out what 5 is. You can't figure out what is going to lead you up to 10, right? So that's kind of the whole point of this video. And again, I hope this helps you. I hope this inspires you to, again, I can't tell you exactly what your next step is, but you got to start thinking, right? Because again, the worst thing is being stuck. The worst thing is plateauing in a career, in your fitness, in whatever you want to see growth in, right? That's the worst thing. You need to figure out how to bust through plateaus. So anyways, that's it. That's all. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe. If you guys have any questions, comments, feel free to leave them down below. And as always, I will talk to you guys soon. Peace.